Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you're here to learn more about first generation student support at the U of O, University of Oregon, for your introduction. If you are, you're in the right spot, so thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and go to through a few slides for you. We'll have some Q&A time. It'll be great. You're probably wondering who I am. My name is DJ Kelly Kotroki. I am the coordinator of multicultural education, engagement, and student success in the Office of the Dean of Students. And I am the chair of the First Generation Student Working Group.
Hi, good evening. My name is Veretta Pierre-Floyd, and I'm an academic and career coordinator with Tykeson College and Career Advising that is within the Division of Undergraduate Education and Student Success. A little bit more that I'll share about myself. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And like you all, I am a first generation college and master's graduate. I'm also a former foster youth, very proud native Seattleite as well. And so have lived pretty much all my life in the Pacific Northwest.
And thank you for that reminder, Veretta. A couple more things about myself. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I am mixed race, and I am also a first generation college student and master's student. So some things that Veretta and I have in common. You'll be hearing from both Veretta and I this evening as we go through the presentation. Next slide, please. So there are more than just Veretta and I who do this work. There are people from all over campus here that are dedicated to helping first generation students succeed at the U of O. Some people will be here tonight answering your questions via the Q&A. Some people are away and will be here during the roundtable session in a month. So hopefully you'll get to meet some of these people. First, we have Jessie Stewart, our Senior Associate Director for Student Activities and Programs in the Herb Memorial Union. Chia Her, Academic Advisor in Pathway Oregon in Undergraduate Education and Student Success. And Tara Perillo, the Director of TRIO Student Support Services in Undergraduate Education and Student Success. Both Chia and Tara are actually the ones who will be answering some questions with you all, so hopefully you'll say hi to them. Next slide. And then we have two brand new people joining us on the working group as of last week as well. Maria Kallenbach, who's the coordinator of non-traditional and veteran student engagement and success in the Office of the Dean of Students, and Angela Rovak, who's a first-year academic advisor in the Clark Honor College in undergraduate education and student success. Next slide.
All right, so one of the things that we thought would be beneficial to you all is to share the history of first generation student support at the University of Oregon. And part of the reason that we wanted to provide you all with this framework is one, we're looking forward to continue this work, and two, we're still relatively new on both a national scale and at the University of Oregon. So in 2017, there was officially declared a National First Generation Student Day. And so with this National Day on November 8th, on or around November 8th, depending on which day it falls on during the calendar year, all higher ed institutions take part, all or most take part in some kind of event, activity, week, etc., to honor first generation students at those respective campuses. In 2018 is when the University of Oregon really kicked off our support and recommitment to first generation students. And so really want to shout out to my colleagues, or our colleagues, excuse me, in PE and Rec, who really helped to kick this initiative off. And so we started off with an event there where we had students, faculty, and staff share some of their experience, share words of affirmation, and just came together as a community. And in 2019, again, through some of DJ's leadership, really came together as a first generation working group, the establishment of this first generation working group. and put on a first generation student celebration in our Herb Memorial Union, which is the student union. And so within that particular event, we had President Schill, who was also a first generation student and graduate, come to the event and give a few words. In addition to that, we had a panel of a variety of faculty, staff, and students that were speaking about their experiences and how the first generation identity not only looked for them, but also how they navigated that. And of course, you know, food. So we are still continuing this work and are really excited that you are here to hear about it and to be supported by us in the UO community. Next slide.
So just to give you a broader overview of other things we'll be talking about and just what first generation student support looks like at the U of O, you'll hear tonight about our TRIO student support services, the Pathway Oregon plan, our program, more about Tykeson Hall, the I Am First placards that faculty and staff can get, our first generation student celebration, and the first generation student working group as a whole, what we're trying to do this year, and potentially some involvement opportunities. Next slide.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk to you about the different advising components. So first up, we have TRIO Student Support Services. And TRIO is a federal program through the Department of Education for this particular program, because you might be familiar with TRIO or Gear Up or some other kind of variation of this program in high school. This particular program supports first gen, low income, and students with disabilities. And so at the University of Oregon, you just have to meet one of those criteria. With that said, the admissions requirements are ongoing. They're actually recruiting now. So Tara is, I'm sure, really happy to hear me plug that. But so you'll complete an online form, and then assuming you meet, again, one or more of those criteria, and are admitted to the University of Oregon, you may definitely qualify for some of those funds. So in terms of the program expectations, you will meet with the TRIO SSS advisors at least once per term, attend a TRIO workshop or event at least once per term, and then stay connected by using TRIO resources. So in addition to the advising component, and TRIO advisors serve in a more generalist advising capacity, you also have some financial aid resources and other resources to help you navigate your time at UO. Next slide, please. And then next up is Pathway Oregon. So Pathway Oregon is both an academic advising piece, but it's also kind of a full-on wraparound support in addition to TRIO. And so Pathway Oregon ensures that academically qualified federal Pell Grant eligible Oregonians, so you do have to be an Oregonian resident or Oregon resident, excuse me, will have your tuition and fees paid through a combination of federal, state, and university funds. So this is determined through the admissions process. This is not something that you need to activate on your end. And what the Pathway program offers, again, some generalist advising, so you have a full advising team that's able to assist you in addition to your departmental or other advisors, academic support, workshops, and then a mentoring program. And both Pathway and TRIO are in the same division as the next advising unit that I'm going to talk about, which is the Division of Undergraduate Education and Student Success. And next slide, please. The next program is both the physical building and the unit that I work in. So I work in Tykeson College and Career Advising, and the building that we work out of is the Willie and Donald Tykeson Hall. And Tykeson Hall, if you have yet to hear about it, is really built around student success. So before I talk more specifically about the academic and career advising, I do want to talk about what's in the physical building. So I don't know about y'all, but coffee is my life force. It was my life force when I was a student, and it is still my life force now. And so there is a small coffee shop there. There's interactive study spaces for students, in addition to classrooms. So within some of your core or gen ed classes, you will actually have some classes potentially in Tyson. There's also writing and math tutoring. So it is definitely a building that is built around student success. So to expand further with the academic and career advising, if you are a student that does not know where to start, you are exploring and maybe have some ideas of majors in mind, one of the things that the university recently did about a year ago is we reorganized our advising, not just for the College of Arts and Sciences, but overall, to put our majors in what's called these meta majors. So because we're the ducks and we have to be punny, we organized our meta majors to be called flight paths. So as I mentioned before, I'm an academic and career coordinator. I oversee 2 flight paths, our media, arts, and expression, so some of our humanities-based majors. So thinking about like cinema studies, English, etc. And then public policy, society, and identity. In addition to those 2 flight paths, we also have 4 more. So there are 6 total. And within the advising, depending on what your major is, you will either see advisors in Tyson, or you might see them in the professional schools like the School of Journalism and Communication, or the College of Business, or the College of Design, etc. So within Tyson Hall, our approach is holistic advising, which integrates the social and cultural aspects, and also touches on the full academic advising for College of Arts and Sciences majors and exploratory students, as well as getting you thinking about early career advising. And because I'm a little bit of a nerd, I'm gonna nerd out for a second. One of the things that the research talks about with first generation students is not being aware of certain opportunities and access. And one of the things I like about my position and Tyson College and career advising as a whole is we get you thinking about the career piece early, not just your advising piece. In addition to that, the Career Center is also located in Tyson Hall, and a career readiness coach is attached to each flight path. Next slide.
Thank you, Veretta. Before I continue, I do want to remind you all that the Q&A portion is open, so go ahead, regardless of if Veretta and I are talking, type in those questions, and either one of our fabulous people who are assisting us will be able to answer your question, or it might be pushed for us to answer live a little bit later during the presentation. So as Veretta got to talk about advising and more of the academic side, I get to talk about co-curricular, which basically means anything outside of the academic. So what you're seeing is a picture of the I Am First placards. These are for our faculty and staff who also were first-gen students, and probably for all of their degrees, actually. So you see that it has pretty clear I'm first-gen. I was the first person in my family to complete a bachelor's degree, and let's connect about ways I can be a resource to you throughout your UO journey. These were implemented actually just last year, and so we are handing these out as much as we can to our first-gen staff and faculty, really as a way to honor the work that they've done and also the way to show out. We want to be able to show who we are so students like you can see that you can be first gen and succeed. And there are staff here that understand what that can feel like, knowing that it might be different for each of us, but being able to at least have a common understanding of what it means to try to figure this out. For parents, families, and friends who might be seeing this, these are the people that you are going to want to encourage your students to go seek out if they have any questions. And the best thing about it is, even if we don't know the answer, we probably know someone who we can refer to, that we can walk over to, and really build that network of support. And so these are really great back when we're on campus. Next slide, please. So some involvement in future directions. This is kind of merging our involvement opportunities as well as kind of where the overall working group is going. So first one that I want to kind of give a shout out or a plug to is our first generation student introduction roundtable 2. So this roundtable opportunity is mostly information sharing that will be able to tell you kind of what we do at the UO to support first gen students. And while that information is great, and obviously we're doing that, we have another opportunity in a month, so August 17th from 6 to 7, to actually have more conversation, to be more engaged with one another face to face, and be able to really get a chance to start building relationships before we arrive on campus. Our hope is that in September, we'll be able to continue these conversations, and then later in November, we'll continue them even longer. Why November? Well, that's because our first generation student celebration is going to be in November this year. Well, every year, really. We are still in the planning preparation of what that student celebration is going to look like, especially with the realities of COVID-19. We want to be really aware of how we can do a celebration and really highlight this identity that we share while still being safe. So keep an eye out. One way or another, it's going to be awesome, and we'll have a lot of fun. There are many other student clubs and organizations within U of O that are identity-based that might touch on these topics themselves around being first gen, what it means to understand college and all of the complexities of it. So I'd also encourage you to reach out to the MCC or the Multicultural Center or the CSI or Center for Student Involvement for more information there. Obviously, the first generation student working group is also an option. We are actually looking to get some students involved. So while this group itself is pretty new for faculty and staff, we are definitely missing student voice. And so also, if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information will be at the end of the slides. And keep an eye out, because we're looking to not only have people help us plan the working group, but in the next conversation too, our blog and website creation, we want more representation of first-gen identities within what you see online. And so part of that will be hopefully creating a blog this summer and throughout next year, posting about the experiences of first-gen students on our campus, and not just from a faculty and staff point of view, but a student experiencing that themselves. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions about those. Next slide, please.
Oh, that's me. Okay. So just wanted to share some suggestions from first gen staff. I know that college is a very scary time for a whole host of reasons. And I will tell you, as somebody who has been an administrator for 6 or more years, it's still scary to me. So please ask questions. I don't think, I disagree about there's no such thing as a dumb question. I think that there's such thing as an uninformed question. But still ask your questions, because you don't know. And we're not necessarily expecting you to have all the answers. I regularly ask my colleagues questions. You are persisting. I mean, when we look at research and all these things, there's all these things to say, like, we should not be here, and this is so hard. Life is hard, right? But you are here, you belong here. You did your dues with high school, you did what you needed to do to get here. And so you definitely belong in the Duck family. What I'll also say is get involved. I can tell you very clearly that my experience as a resident assistant at my alma mater helped me to flourish both professionally, personally, and academically, because I only had a certain amount of time to do certain things. And so that definitely kept me on the path to keeping my eyes on the book and graduating in 4 years. Also, be open to new opportunities to challenge yourself in thinking. And one of the reasons why I think that that's so important is that you don't know what kind of opportunities are available to you during your time as a college student. And there's so many things that you would have never experienced or had your mind and eyes open to if you didn't allow for those opportunities to come to you. So be open, and also challenge by choice, but I do encourage you to challenge yourself. And then lastly, because I would not be an advisor if I didn't tell you this, please schedule an advising appointment at least once per year or more, so that you can stay on track academically, and also so that we can continue to help you with your career planning process. Next slide.
Before we jump into the Q&As, I do want to echo what Veretta just said about meeting with your academic advisor. At my alma mater, I met with my advisor every term, even though it wasn't required, just to make sure that I was maximizing the classes I was taking. I was paying for college on my own, and so I wanted to make sure that I was getting through as quick and efficient as possible, and I was able to do that. So they can be your greatest ally, as well as almost any staff, but especially on the academic side. Advisors are where it's at. So this is the Q&A time. Sorry, I'm of course doing other things sometimes, but looks like right now we haven't had any questions yet, which is impressive. So either you all have this, or maybe you all are waiting for this slide. So if you have any questions, please go ahead, type them out in your Q&A feature of the webinar. If you don't have any questions, maybe you can answer this for us. I guess, what are you most excited and or nervous about coming to UO? You can use the anonymous feature if you would like, but we encourage you to ask your question with your name attached to it. That way, if we don't get to your question, we can follow up with you afterwards. So we'll give you just a few seconds. Feel free to pop some answers in or some questions in, and Red and I will popcorn some things around. Looks like we did get our first question from Sarah Stein. I'm just wanted to acknowledge that because it looks like Tara, who's doing one about, it was Tara, who's an academic advisor, is actually gonna answer that typed, but I didn't want you to think that we hadn't seen it or anything. Also, feel free to keep the questions coming in. We don't have to wait one at a time to do them.
Okay, so it sounds like the question has been sent to me, so I will go ahead and answer the question. So again, Sarah Stein asks, has our child already been assigned an advisor? And if so, how do we find out who that is? So, as I mentioned before, there are several advising units at the University of Oregon. Some provide kind of holistic wraparound support and kind of more generalist advising, while others provide also some of that wraparound support, but are specific to majors, minors, and certificates. So, for example, in the case of TRIO or Pathway as an example, and actually with Tyson as well, we do what's called team advising. So a student does not have any one particular advisor. They have a team of advisors who can speak to either that particular major or those sets of majors, minors, and certificates. And so in terms of who the student's advisor is, if they are declared student, that will depend on their major. And so some of that will depend on their school or college. So for example, if their major is journalism, then they would be under the team advising through the School of Journalism and Communication. If the student is, say, a psychology student, they would be under the Healthy Communities Flight Path out of Tyson College and Career Advising. So part of that will depend on the major.
So it looks like we did get another question about TRIO specifically. So we'll have Tara probably answer that one via type, and then we might read that aloud later. One of the things about being a first generation student that I think is one of our greatest strengths is the ability to be adaptable. So much so that I actually am throwing Beretta a curveball, and I am actually going to ask our SOSers who are here also to go ahead and turn on the camera, do a quick introduction, and also talk a little about their experience as a first-gen student here at UO. So I'm going to pass it off to Marissa first, and then Marissa, you get to popcorn it to the next person, and we'll go from there. Keep those questions coming in, and we'll be answering them either via typing or after the SOSers say hello.
All right, well, hi everybody. My name's Marissa. I use she, her, and her pronouns. I am going into my 4th and final year at the U of O with a double major in cultural anthropology and ethnic studies. I'm the first person in my family to go to college and stay in college. Both my parents tried community college and didn't last even a full year. So I definitely kind of came into this not really knowing what to expect from college at all. And I, on the same thing as DJ, I'm trying to do it in the quickest time that I can with spending the least amount of money. And I'm also a Pathway Oregon student, and Pathway Oregon has been incredibly helpful for me. I learned about it, I think, when I was in 8th grade, because I've lived in Oregon my whole life. And that was when the program was first starting. And I feel like that's been really beneficial for me as being a part of that, because I also meet with an advisor every single term. They're so helpful, and I think it's also required, but I love doing it anyways because they're so helpful. And it just makes me feel a lot more confident in my my time at the U of O, and that I'm spending my time correctly, and smart, being smart about it. So yeah, that's just a little bit of my experience as a first gen. Annie, do you want to go next?
Sure. So my name is Annie. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am currently a second-year student at the university. And like I said, or we all kind of are, I am a first-generation college student. Much like Marissa, both my mom did try to attend college. She ended up not being able to finish it, along with my brother. My older brother also attempted community college, and he it's not really for him. And so now I'm kind of here with my high hopes to get some form of degree from here. I also, with my little story, I'm a bit of an academic in my own work. I came in with a bunch of transfer credits, and I'm actually 4 credits away from being a junior standing, even though I'm going into my 2nd year. And so I'm very excited about that, and I'm really hoping to get college kind of under my wing. But I am kind of here. I want to say that I'm also a journalism major, and that's opened a whole lot of doors for me. Much like Marissa too, I'm local to the Oregon area. I'm local to Eugene, and so I know quite a bit about the whole Pathway Oregon shebang. Although personally I am not a part of that because I don't quite meet all of the requirements. But I am still very proud of the resources that the university kind of offers. And I have my own little experience here. So Ashley, if you'd like to go ahead and share your own story.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Ashley. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm going to be entering my second year at the University of Oregon. My major is business administration with hopefully a minor in law in Spanish. I'm the first student from my family to go to college and to also graduate high school. So certainly these obstacles have been quite hard for me because I have no guidance on the whole college aspect, but honestly, it's you live and you learn, and honestly, it'll be a little bit stressful here and there, but honestly, the work's gonna be paying off. I'm also a pathway student here at the University of Oregon. My advisors have certainly helped me a lot throughout my whole college career, and I'm also an Oregonian. I was born in Portland. I'm from Newburgh, but I'm currently staying here in Eugene. But honestly, all I can say from my perspective is that U of O certainly is here to help you and your students, your kids, to get a degree. So why don't I pass it on to Veronica?
Alrighty. Hi everyone, I'm Veronica. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm going into my third year at the University of Oregon. I am double majoring in family and human services in Spanish with a minor in psychology. And something that makes me very different from everyone else is that I am actually an out-of-state student. So that's a little fun fact about myself. Something that was kind of really difficult for me was when I was touring colleges is just figuring out the financial aspect of college. And so attending out of state wasn't the wisest decision on my part. I will totally admit that, but I have loved my time here, and very similar to DJ, I am figuring out everything out of pocket for me. But I have found an amazing support system while at the University of Oregon. And another fun fact about myself is I am the second in my family, both mom and dad sides, to ever go to college. So the first being my sister. She did set a really good ground foot for me, and I've had an amazing support from her. But she was really the main reason why I went to college, and I've loved it here, and I think you will too. And you are never alone. Being a first gen is all about trial and error, and it's okay. You're gonna be okay, and we're just so excited to have you here with us.
Awesome, thank you, SOSR team. I do actually have one more question for you all. We did have a slide earlier about the suggestions from first generation staff about what things we should think about. I was wondering if there was anything else you would add, or maybe something you learned about U of O that those of us who didn't attend U of O might want to know as people who are coming in. So again, go ahead, turn on your cameras when you're talking. Feel free to just jump in with whatever makes sense for you.
I know payment is definitely scary about college. It's very scary for me, especially since my parents made too much money last year, so I don't get to stay on Pathway next year, and I have to pay for it myself. So I would heavily advise looking into job opportunities on campus, even something part-time that's work study. You only make $600 a month. It helps so much, and you can utilize Handshake. And so I always rep Handshake. Use it as a resource to find a job. There are lots of on-campus jobs that make it easy to go prioritize school while also having a job, because they're on campus, so they know that you're a student, and they put that first, and they want you to put that first. So that's just a resource that I would recommend.
I would like to bounce off of that if that is okay. Like I said earlier, I don't quite qualify for the Oregon Promise for the exact same reason that Marissa can't. We're right above that financial cusp, so I didn't actually qualify for quite a chunk of financial aid, and that makes it sometimes really difficult to pay for college. So yeah, definitely utilize Handshake, look into job opportunities. I will say sometimes it can be really challenging to balance working and school at the same time. I will say if you do work for the university or for a university like affiliate or organization, like Marissa had said, they do prioritize that you are a student first, and I believe you cannot work past 20 to 22 hours a week if you work for an on-campus organization during the academic year. So do keep that in mind, but there are so many opportunities for work on campus that will help with payment, because I know that's sometimes the hardest thing. I also wanted to say that one of the things that has helped me a lot is getting connected. Much like, because some of my family has had a little bit of college experience but haven't necessarily graduated, or I'm really surrounded with some people that school isn't necessarily for them. Getting connected with some clubs or organization has really helped me find some purpose at the university. For a long time, my main reason for going to college was to get a degree, and every now and then that's not always the best reason. So really trying to find a way to keep you motivated and keep you wanting to go to college has really helped me stay persistent and like be enthusiastic to be here and to get that degree and really push through some of the more challenging things and obstacles that I've had to face. So that's kind of my little thing. Just make sure to stay connected, make those connections.
Another thing that I would like to add is my first year, I was a little bit worried that I was not going to be able to even come to U of O, even although I had the pathway opportunity to be here, but because I needed money for housing and my parents were not going to be able to support me in that area. So one of the things I did was to pull out loans. And certainly that it can be a little bit scary pulling out loans, you know, because you're entering the real world. You have to pay those loans back after you get, you know, your degree. As long as you're a student, you don't have to pay anything back, but afterwards you will, obviously. Another thing is certainly Handshake has like helped me find a job on campus, and they're flexible with schedules and everything. I just think that whatever concern you may have, like, we're here for you. Everyone's here for you. Like, we're a community of care and support. So whatever you need, like, just reach out and we'll support you in any way that we can.
Thank you. I like that ending of we are a community of care and support. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why this working group has started to form officially, is because all of us who are first gen have always tried to support one another, but it's always been kind of covert or around our other jobs or something else we've taken on. And we want to make sure that U of O is doing that even while we're here, while people are coming in, regardless of who's here. So I love that ending of being a community of care. We did get a question that was answered, but I'm gonna read it aloud because I think it's important, since we have talked a little bit about funding and what it means to actually pay for school here. So Emma Bradley asked a question about financial aid and whether it is specific to, if there is any financial aid specific to the first gen identity. And so Tara and Veretta have been able to help, but Tara suggested that there are some first gen scholarships through our Diversity Excellence Scholarship, if you are able to apply to that, and TRIO SSS scholarships if you are admitted. Also, if and when our study abroad programs are able to travel, there are first gen specific scholarships there if you're looking for that kind of internationalized experience as well. Emma also asked if this is going to be available anywhere, this information in the presentation. Since we are recording this, we are going to actually post it on the Oregon Welcome YouTube channel. So you can go back anytime, rewatch it, fast forward to the information you need. That way you're not trying to find a PowerPoint or something later. through an email like in a month or something. Besides that, one more thing. If you want more information about financial aid and paying for school and all of that, there is a financial aid workshop called Money Matters, Financial Aid, Scholarships, and Billing on Friday, July 24th from 10:30 to 11:30. And Veretta actually put the link to that in the Q&A as well. So that'd be another place to get more information, as well as kind of get some generalized questions answered. If there are no other questions, and I'm purposely speaking slowly in case someone's feverishly typing away, I think that we will actually go ahead and end a little early and give you back some of your evening. So next slide. So here is the contact information for all of the working group as of now. So if you want to reach out and say hello or ask questions to any of us, please let us know, reach out, say hello. Hopefully you've seen through Veretta and I that we're pretty friendly and want to do what we can do. I know that Chia and Tara have been trying to do questions as they've come in, are definitely here to support as well. And yeah, we're here for you, whether this is the first session you've gone to, whether you are really nervous, whether you're really excited, bring it all. We're here and we're excited. So, Veretta, anything else?
So I just want to say one last thing about funding and scholarships. Another thing that is really important for you to look into is funding resources within your academic school, major, or program. Sometimes there is funding that's specifically earmarked for students within their home departments of their academic major, minors, etc. So just wanted to put that out there as well as a funding source that you should definitely tap into. So that was all that I wanted to share. We really do appreciate you spending this time with us this evening to learn about first generation or first gen student support at the University of Oregon.
Definitely. And also one more shout out to Annie, Ashley, Veronica, and Marissa, who were able to jump in, share some of their experiences, and definitely roll with the flexibility. So from Veretta and I, Tara and Chia, and the rest of the working group, as well as orientation, we hope you have a good evening and feel free to reach out. Looking forward to see you in the fall. Have a great night.